A foundational model that drives economists and their thinking is the circular flow diagram. It explains the flow of goods, services, money, and other factors of production through a free market economy. First, let's meet the players in our economy. They're people, hi there, Mr. Sian, who make up what we will call households. Mr. Sian lives in his house with other people, but we'll call that a household. Next, we have businesses and firms. And lastly, the government. Then there are two markets. The first is called the factor market. Its full name is factors of production market. It is all the pieces you need to make products. This is often stated in the triplet, land, labor, and capital. The other one is the goods and services market. This is where businesses and firms offer their items for sale. Sometimes this is a brick and mortar building, it can be online, or it can just be the service of your internet coming into your home. Let's see how the circular flow works out in the real world. Our friend, Mr. Sian, has some money he wants to spend. He goes down to the local store and decides he wants the latest smartphone. He purchases the phone. Yay, got a new phone! This is often done with a credit card swipe, but it can be done with cold hard cash. The money then winds up in the bank account of the company that made the smartphone. Cha-ching! The money has moved halfway across our diagram from the pocket of the consumer to the account of the producer. Back to Mr. Sian. He is a research scientist who works for a company that's trying to make better glass for smartphone screens that's more sensitive to touch and more resistant to scratches and difficult to break. His research is then bought by the smartphone company that he just purchased a smartphone from. They buy from the factor market seeking to upgrade their product and gain a competitive advantage. So that money comes back to Mr. Sian in the form of his salary. There you have it. A full trip around the circuit has put money back into the hand of Mr. Sian. Let's label this trip. First, spending occurs in the goods and services market. This money comes back to the business and firms as revenue. Then they pay wages, rent, and profit. Profit can be things like dividends to their stockholders. And lastly, the money is returned to the households as income. There's a second level working here that is not money. It is the items, most of the time, that are moving through the economy. We see Mr. Sian providing labor as a research scientist. Other categories here are land and capital. We should think as capital as an investment households make in businesses and firms. To keep it simple, think of Mr. Sian as purchasing shares in a company in the stock market. Firms and businesses use this land, labor, and capital to add to or improve their factors of production. Then they produce goods and services. More often than not, they are sold to a middleman, like a large variety store, think of Walmart, Aeon, Tesco. These goods are then sold to households like Mr. Sian's. The second circuit is now complete. But wait, you say, what about the government? The government taxes all these items as they go. Income taxes, capital gains taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and so on. Now wait, we can't blame the federal government for all this because provincial or state governments and local governments get their hand in the money jar as well. The government's place with this money is that they should put it into services that are funded by your taxes. This could be welfare or social security payouts. It could be funding for fire departments, police departments. It could be property law, copyright law. These are all ways the government aids and protects its citizens to ensure the flow of money and goods and the services continues without interruption. And there it is, the circular flow diagram.